Let's talk about some of the big legal issues that happened during the week. And Vikas Bajaj is here, criminal defense attorney, keeps track of all these legal issues for us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Saturday to you.
To you as well.
I'm sure you made it in okay. You didn't slide off the road or anything?
It's still beautiful San Diego, rain or not. Happy to drive here.
There you go, the silver lining, Vikas Bajaj. All right, let's talk about starting with James Holmes.
Yes.
And this is the local guy from Rancho Peñasquitas who went into that movie theater, gunned down all those people during that Batman movie. And this week he was found guilty.
That's right. The jury did not essentially buy the defense argument that he was legally insane at the time these crimes were committed. Now we have on Wednesday the next most important phase starting, which is the death penalty phase, whether he will have life without parole in the state of Colorado or whether he will be executed by the state. Many times you have defenses that we probably know aren't going to win in a death penalty case being presented to the jury, because that same jury that finds guilt or innocence is the same jury that's going to determine the proper punishment.
So they know all the details.
Exactly. All that information is taken into account.
Let's talk about the original issue that you pointed to, and that is the insanity defense.
Right.
It can work, but in this case it didn't work, and I understand it is very difficult to prove.
It is extremely difficult to prove on the defense side of things. The problem in most cases when you try to present an insanity defense is this: if there's an indicia of premeditation or planning or sophistication, that flies in the face of a true insanity defense. An insanity defense says, I did not have the time to properly reflect. I don't know the difference between right on one hand and wrong on the other. And when you have sophistication, as evidenced by planning, as we have in the Holmes case, that flies in the face of the defense. You would not be surprised that this strategy didn't work, but the ultimate strategy may be by the defense team to save Mr. Holmes' life.
All right, so that's basically the end goal.
That's correct for them.
You know, as we were saying, no one in their right mind goes into a movie theater and massacres people, so obviously the guy's crazy. But to use legally the insanity defense, it didn't fly. All right, let's talk about Uber. And Uber is just taking off. It's all over the world. It's worth $50 billion now. But little by little, it's being chipped away by legal decisions.
It's being chipped away, that's right. And we actually have in Uber's hometown of California, in San Francisco, an administrative law judge just held him liable for almost $7 million because they were not adequately keeping track of who they were picking up, insofar as them being potentially disabled passengers or people who lived far away from the center of where the Uber drivers were in that jurisdiction. Now that's required, and it's required because as a transportation company, we, as the Utilities Commission and Transportation Commission and Californians, want to make sure people are not being discriminated against. Well, Uber has a counterattack to that, which is we are not a transportation company. With our filings and with our corporate documents, we are a technology company. And because of that, we do not have the requirements for insurance that transportation companies have, and we don't need to keep this data. Yeah. The administrative law judge says, well, nice try, but that's not going to happen. Even though you call yourself a transportation, or excuse me, a technology company, you are practically a transportation company.
And they're saying basically abide by the ADA, which is the American with Disabilities Act, and allow anyone to have your taxi cab ready.
Exactly, to not discriminate and to properly accommodate individuals who are hailing their service and paying their fees. The bottom line is there are these continuous attacks, and we have it in Manhattan now as well, where you have the exodus of financing for taxi medallions. Yeah. You know, in the state of New York, especially in Manhattan, each taxi medallion now is more than $1 million to purchase.
That's shocking.
And there are over $63 million of loans that private banks have given to people who want these medallions. Well, now Uber is creeping into Manhattan, and what do we see? We have a lot of the private banks getting together, calling their loans due because they understand that the hit on the consumer advocacy and obviously the availability is going to be tremendous for these medallion holders.
Well, Uber has turned that whole situation upside down.
Absolutely, and it's an ebb and a flow and an ever-changing dynamic process. We understand that before there were attacks, they didn't have proper insurance. Yeah. Well, then they fixed that issue, and they're allowed now to have insurance. So,
well, it is a startup company.
It's a startup company. It's going through growing pains, but a lot of people are believing that Uber is thumbing their nose at the commissions and saying, we're going to operate until somebody raises a red flag.
All right. Vikas Bajaj, criminal defense attorney, wrapping it up for us. Thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Careful out there.
Always.
Slippery.
It is.